Hey team, Jesse Reynolds got your WOD video for you. Monday, June the 1st, 5 months down in 2015. Kind of crazy to think about how fast the past 5 months have gone. Just 5 months ago, we were in the middle of launching the All-In Challenge, and the growth we've seen has been incredible. But so I've been having some conversations with some different leaders on the team, and I'm always just reflecting upon different things. And what I wanted to visit with you about today are the three qualities we are looking for in prospects who would have a higher likelihood of finding success in AdvoCare. Now, it is true that AdvoCare truly is for anyone and everyone. It's not about some special skill set. It's oftentimes not an ability issue for people, but there are three traits someone must have before this AdvoCare thing from an income standpoint is really going to start clicking for them. And when it comes to us building a business, our greatest resource all of us have inside and outside of AdvoCare is time. And it is so important because time is the most precious resource. It is the only resource that is not renewable, that we need to become great stewards of our time. And that's in every aspect of our lives. And I don't know that you can ever arrive there. That is a constant struggle. I know for myself, I'm always aiming and striving to become a better steward of my time. But one area I know where I have seen a lot of growth in my time stewardship has been in my prospecting and recruiting. There are some champions, and if this is you, that's great. There's some champions out there who they sponsor 2, 3, 4, 5 distributors every single pay period all the time, and they've got big PGVs, but maybe they've got 80 frontline distributors and only 4 or 5 advisors on their team. Yeah, that shows that you're bringing a message of products at a discount, which is great, but that also shows that you don't really have people engaged in business building activities on your team. Now, I was mentoring with one of our Ruby leaders on the call last night, and I looked at it, and Beth and I, about 1 out of every 2 distributors we have frontline is at the advisor level, and I shared that with her, and that's a very high ratio. And so it's not about having necessarily that ratio, but the reason our ratio is so good, imagine if 1 out of every 2 distributors you sponsored, if they went to the advisor level, what would your business look like with that? And then about one out of every 3 to 4 of them is a star leg every pay period. And so and that's what's laid our foundation for Diamond. And so what if you could start putting the odds in your favor by looking for distributors, prospecting for distributors and advisors who already have these qualities and characteristics, because you cannot find high levels of success in AdvoCare without these three. And while any of them can be attained by someone, that is a long, slow process. And we don't quit on people just because they don't have them. But again, why not look for people who already possess these? So I want you to jot these three down as we go through them. And I want you to start using these as a filter when you look through your list of prospects. When you start intentionally sharing AdvoCare, use a different set of ears when you're having conversations and talking with people and listening to people, and ask yourself, do they possess these three qualities, or at least 2 of these three qualities, so you have something to work with. The first one, which I think is the most important one, is desire. Now, that is so important for a number of reasons. See, what I oftentimes see people do is they come on board with AdvoCare, and this is really from a product standpoint or from an income standpoint, and they look at their Uncle Chuck, and they say, man, Uncle Chuck is broke, he needs this. Well, that's great for Uncle Chuck that he needs the income opportunity. In fact, I would propose that essentially every person you and I know, less than 1% of anybody that you or I know, doesn't need the income opportunity of AdvoCare. So pretty much everyone you and I know needs AdvoCare. They may not all realize it, but there's a difference between need and want. There's a difference between need and desire. We can't put want to in somebody. You may know someone who's been out of work for 2 years and has their house in foreclosure and has got credit card bills piling up and all those things. You may know somebody with those circumstances, but unless they have a desire, a burning desire to improve their circumstances, they're going to have a lot of trouble here in AdvoCare, because this is not a job. We don't force people. We don't coerce people. We don't motivate people. We simply identify people who have a desire for change, and then we present them with a solution. It's the same thing in the products. your cousin Joe may be 300 pounds, and his doctor told him he needs to lose 50 pounds. But unless cousin Joe wants to lose weight, he won't take the products consistently and correctly, and he won't lose weight. It doesn't matter. It's not a reflection of AdvoCare on our products. Just the same way, if broke Uncle Chuck doesn't want to go out there and get to work, it's not a reflection of AdvoCare's income opportunity. It's a reflection of broke Uncle Chuck's lack of desire. So that's number one. This business again. I so oftentimes see people talk about, I know this guy and he can sell ice to an Eskimo. That's great for him. Hopefully he knows a lot of Eskimos, because this is not about selling. This is not about Eskimos. This is about someone who wants something more. What I have seen drive and work harder and faster and bigger and deeper and more successful most often is a mom who wants more time with her kids. That is an intense desire. Just a mom who it breaks her heart to drop her kids off at daycare, and the only reason she goes to work is because her family needs the money. That's someone who's already out there working and struggling to do something more for their family. And you put something like an AdvoCare in front of that mama, she's going to go out there and she's going to tear the head off this thing. Somebody who's just feeling beaten down with debt. That was where I was when AdvoCare came across my path. I don't have a sales background. I don't have a business background. I was broke. When I met the girl of my dreams, you guys all know Beth, I way outpunted my coverage on that. And I wanted us to get married, and I couldn't afford to, and I felt like a failure. That bothered me. That bothered me so much that caused me to get to a point of disgust where I decided to do something different, and that something different was AdvoCare. The reality was there was great coaching and all those things available and Success School, and the products were awesome. But this thing worked for me because I wanted it to work, and I was willing to put the work in. I was not afraid of work. I was more concerned about getting our family out of debt than I was about what was going on with American Idol and SEC football. You have to have a desire for something more, and that's the same thing for the people that were out there prospecting. So number one, look for people who have a desire to change. Look for busy people, not broke people. Look for people who are working 2 jobs. Look for people who they're not happy with the public schools their kids are in. Look for people who they are just doing everything they can to afford for their kids to play travel ball, but they miss all the games. Look for people who have that desire. Number 2, they have to be teachable. And it's really easy. I share these 3 traits with people all the time when I share AdvoCare, especially like on a through a phone call. And I share this all the time. All the time people are, oh yeah, I'm teachable. It's really easy to say I'm teachable, but it's a whole different thing to actually be teachable. And in this, there's some different signs. One is just if you talk to people, if they're really opinionated all the time and they're a know-it-all, they're probably going to have trouble being teachable. We were at CrossFit on Saturday, and I wasn't having a conversation, but we CrossFit at a gym where the owners are advisors on our team. You guys know Brian and Tori Fussell, and one of these guys starts talking about Rich Froning this and this protein powder, and he doesn't, and just nonsense. And it was funny watching the whole thing go. And people, because a lot of people in there use products and like, no, there's this and no, there's that, and I just walked away from the conversation. I didn't, my one phrase I learned a long time ago is if you argue with a fool, who's the fool? And so I didn't even take part in that. But in my mind, it wasn't even about trying to convince them of AdvoCare, because one, we don't do that and we don't need to do that. AdvoCare's got incredible integrity, and the products and the income opportunities speak for themselves. But 2 is even if we could have argued him into doing AdvoCare, using the products or whatever nonsense, he would have been a pain in the butt to deal with the entire time, because he's a know-it-all and he's got to, he knows everything. He's too smart for his own good. Another way I've heard it say is he's got all the answers and none of the money. But so we are looking for people who truly are teachable, who ask great questions, who want to understand things, who have humility. Humility is a great sign of teachability. In fact, humility is something I'm going to be talking about in tomorrow's vlog, because that is so, so, so important. But it's really simple. When we share with somebody what to do, are they doing those action steps? Are they using the success system? It's great if you tell them the success system, and not everybody you say it one time and they get everything, but are they showing positive actions in the right direction? Because if you just are having circular conversations with people, hey, you really need to put me on the phone, people. Hey, you really need to bring people in the mixer. Hey, you really need to go successful, but they're not doing those things, they're unteachable. And they can tell you they want this thing, and they can tell you they're teachable, but if their actions prove otherwise, we have to identify that our time is not best invested there. Number 3, influence. A person has got to have influence. And I don't mean they need to be a personal trainer with 70 clients. I don't mean they need to run a gym. I don't I don't mean they need to be, a Sunday school teacher, with 100 people that come to their class every week. Nothing like that necessarily. Those are helpful. But what I mean by influence is simply, do people like you? Here's a great test, and again, you may not know the answer to this because we don't know what's going on, but when your number comes up on the caller ID, are they excited you're calling, or do they feel, oh my goodness, they're calling again? Do they screen your calls? Do they avoid you? Do they decide to work out at different times at the gym when you're not there? Do they throw their headphones in when they see you coming over to the squat rack? Do they go leave the room when you walk in? If you have spent your life being a jerk, or someone has spent their life being a jerk, they're really going to struggle here at Advocare, because one of the 3 steps of the success system is we invite people to see more. If people don't know you, like you, and trust you, they are not going to look at what you have your hands on. It has nothing to do with Advocare. It has to do with you're a jerk. It has to do with that you don't lift them up. They feel dragged down when they're around you. They feel beaten down. Again, if you're argumentative, you probably lack influence. You might be right a lot, but being right doesn't help you be successful in Advocare. And so those are the 3 qualities I want to encourage you to look for more intentionally when you're prospecting: desire, teachability, influence. And now here's the thing. Those are qualities that can be acquired. So if you do not have one of those 3 qualities, I want to encourage you, commit to developing those qualities. That was a big thing for me with the influence one. I really lacked influence. I was young. I was immature. And honestly, I'm a recovering jerk. I spent the first 2/3 of my life, focusing on being right and being arrogant and making, distasteful jokes and turning people off and offending people. Just lots of small things that really accumulated against me. And I had a lot of growing up to do and a lot of things to overcome, and it took several years to do it. But let me be an encouragement to you that you can do that. If that's you out there right now, and that's maybe where you're struggling, because this is a relationship business. This business is built with people who know us, like us, and trust us. In any of those 3 categories, you can develop desire. Maybe it's just life circumstance. Maybe it's you're young and single, and 2 years from now you'll be married with a kid on the way. That will change your circumstances, and that will change the desire. If it's teachability, I just wanted to ask you this simply: how many people have you personally put on a 3-way phone call or brought to a mixer or a 2-on-1 meeting this week? It's that simple. I mean, you can give whatever excuse you want to. You can dress it up however you like to. But the simple truth is, if you are not bringing people through the success system, are you registered for Success School? If you are not registered for Success School, you're not teachable. Now, again, you might be brand new and saying, hey, what's Success School? Talk to your leader about that. But I'm saying, if you've been in Advocare for a few weeks or more, a few months or more, and you've heard every single top earner on the team say you need to be at Success School if you want to be successful, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I know a better way, or simple stuff. If if your leaders put out an incentive and like, oh, we're not going to do that, or if your leaders promote a meeting, oh, we're not going to do that, or if your leaders are hosting a call, oh, we're not going to do that, that's arrogance. That is not teachability. That will have a negative duplication effect through your team. So I want to encourage you, look for and identify people who have those 3 qualities: desire, teachability, and influence. And look at yourself and be honest and ask yourself, and perhaps ask a few people around you whom you trust. Your upline Ruby or above leader would be a really good person to talk to about those. And ask them, how am I doing in these 3 categories? What things could I do to make improvements? This is a little longer WOD than usual. I apologize for the length of it, but this is so important. If you will get this, it will change everything for your business. You guys are champions. Let's have an awesome pay period close. We are fired up for Orange Beach. Let's go out there and change the world.